within the union itself, there have been some reports of struggles and within that internal, as you sought to make certain changes.
As far as the trade unions were concerned, there was no internal difficulties because there was the Oil Workers Trade Union, and there was the World Trinidad Union, and there was Francis Basdeo with his Hotels Union, and Joe Young with his Bus Workers Union, and so on. And it was all a united struggle. There was no problem as long as we remained a union. The moment we became a political force, the ideologists in the party, particularly those on the lunatic fringe, began to demand that the party has a political and philosophical line. That is, they must adhere to something.
In terms of your perspective of the labor movement, some of the things that you see that are challenging or not working for us, and how do we go forward? Okay. Do you have a perspective on that?
First of all, the Industrial Stabilization Act literally destroyed the unions. It destroyed the unions in the sense that the traditional method they had of struggle, the strike, lockout, ghost war, that sort of thing, and the employer, even when the employer was a private entity, the employer would have the power of lockout, lock them out, and the workers would have a power of strike. And so by both having power, they would eventually have a compromise. Workers will go back to work, they'll either get this or that or the other. But that is when the private sector dominated the economy. What has happened is the state has become the largest employer in the country through the various institutions and so on. And the workers cannot strike. What the workers had to do was, or the leaders of the union had to do, was to go to court. The leaders then became pseudo-lawyers, meaning that the leaders had to go to court and argue as lawyers, and they were not lawyers. So there was a tremendous disadvantage from the sector, whether the state or the private sector, to hire high-powered lawyers to fight the case. There was a disadvantage. More important is that the state, being the largest employer, had changed the balance of power between the employer and the employee, in that they had the power of the state to use against the employee and the unions. And the unions did not have that anymore. They had to go to the industrial court and become act as lawyers. And then you see, whether they were fighting the state or private sector, the private sector had a tremendous amount of money. They could hire the best lawyers. Whereas the union couldn't do that.
Where does the trade union movement, where does the labor movement begin in 2023?
Getting political power. The balance has changed, the rules have changed. The power relationship between the employer and the employee has changed. And therefore, it's now political. The political force really controls the whole labor situation now. You can oppress it, and it is oppressing it. Therefore, the only way is that the workers, the unions, the middle and working class must seek political power. And when they have political power, they must make the necessary changes that are needed in order to restore the balance of power.